Static channel. Leo was 10 when he found the old TV in his grandmother's attic. It was a bulky, dust-covered relic with a twist knob and rabbit ears. And it still worked, barely. His grandmother let him keep it in his room, as long as it doesn't explode. Late one night, unable to sleep, Leo flipped through the static-filled channels. Most were dead, but one, channel 000, flickered with grey fuzz. He leaned in closer, curious. For a moment, it looked like something shifted in the static. Then the image cleared, just slightly, and his jaw dropped. It was his bedroom. The same bedspread. Same posters. Same flickering nightlight in the corner. He glanced around, half expecting a prank. But no one was there. He turned back to the screen. On it, he saw himself, lying in bed. He blinked. The version of himself on screen didn't. It just stared forward with wide, glassy eyes. Disturbed, Leo unplugged the TV. The next night, the TV was back on. He was sure he had unplugged it. The screen showed his room again, live. But now, there was something else in the picture, a tall, shadowy shape, standing silently at the foot of his bed. Leo turned around in a panic. Nothing there. He looked back. The shadow was closer. He yanked the plug from the wall. Black screen. Cold silence. That morning, he told his grandmother. She looked pale and murmured something under her breath. Finally, she said, "Your grandfather bought that TV from a junk shop. It always turned itself on, always showed things." What kind of things? She didn't answer. The next night, Leo duct-taped the plug, turned the screen to the wall, and buried it under a blanket. Still, at 3 a.m., the screen lit up the room. He woke to a faint buzzing. The TV had turned itself around. The screen showed his room again, but now, the shadow was crawling toward the bed. Slowly, deliberately, its arms too long, its face a blur of static. Leo screamed and ran. But when he looked behind him, there was nothing. The screen was black again. They threw the TV out the next morning. But now, his new TV shows static on channel 000. And sometimes, when he looks too long, he swears he sees a pair of pale hands reaching for the lens from the inside. Would you like a sequel or a new horror story in a similar style? The last voice message. Jordan hadn't deleted Lily's number. He just couldn't. It had been 3 months since the accident, the rain, the crash, the fire. He wasn't there when it happened. She had called him minutes before, asking for a ride. He'd ignored the call. Too tired. Too busy. Too late. Every night since, he stared at her name in his contact list, his thumb hovering over the delete option but never tapping it. One night, after a few too many drinks and far too little sleep, he did something stupid. He called her. The line rang once. Then again. Then, impossibly, it picked up. There was static at first, then a faint sound like breathing, and then crying. "Lily," he whispered. The crying stopped. A voice, her voice, cracked through the line, hoarse and distant. "You left me." Jordan froze. Lily, His mouth was dry. Where are you? Silence. Then, a whisper, almost lost in the static. It's cold. The line cut. He stared at his phone, too stunned to move. It had to be a prank. A cruel trick. But who would? The phone buzzed. One new voicemail. He opened it, heart hammering. It was just breathing. Deep, wet breaths, as if someone were gasping through water. He deleted it, hand shaking. The next morning, his phone had 6 new voicemails, all from Lily's number. He listened to one, crying, then a whisper, "Don't hang up again." He tried to block the number, but the phone wouldn't let him. That night, the voicemails doubled. 12, then 20, each more desperate, each more angry. I waited. Jordan, I waited for you. The final voicemail ended with something that chilled his soul. The sound of the passenger door of his car opening, then breathing from the back seat. Would you like a continuation? I can make this into a mini-series. The voice in the vent. After his older sister Emily died in a car crash, 16-year-old Daniel stopped sleeping well. The silence of the house was oppressive. But about a week after the funeral, he started hearing something odd. A whisper, faint, almost like the wind, coming from the vent above his bed. At first, he thought he was imagining it, grief playing tricks on him. But it happened again the next night. And the next. A soft voice, barely audible. Danny. Danny, I miss you. It sounded like Emily. He lay frozen the first time he heard it clearly. His heart thundered. The voice was familiar. Her voice, her tone, her laugh, warped by distance, by death. Emily. He whispered, almost involuntarily. Silence. Then, don't be scared. It's me. I'm still here. Daniel sat up. He climbed onto his desk and leaned toward the vent, pressing his ear close. Why are you in the vent? He asked. The voice chuckled softly, just like Emily used to. It's just where I am now, where I had to go. He didn't sleep that night. Over the next few nights, the whispers continued. They talked about memories, shared jokes. Emily even told him where he had left his missing phone, under the sofa. She was always right. But the voice started changing. Sometimes it sounded strained. Lower. There was static behind it. One night it said, "Mom doesn't believe I'm still here, does she? She never did like me much. You could make her listen, if you tried." Daniel pulled back. That wasn't Emily. Not how she talked. He stopped responding. But the voice didn't stop. Why are you ignoring me, Danny? I thought you loved me. Do you want me to be alone in here forever? He began to sleep downstairs, covered the vent in his room with tape. But even through the floorboards, late at night, he'd hear it. Danny. Don't forget about me." One night, the voice said something different. Not a whisper, not soft, a deep, guttural rasp. "I'm not in the vent anymore." The lights flickered. Daniel turned slowly. In the corner of the room, just barely visible in the dark, a figure crouched, its head tilted, grinning, and it whispered, again, this time from the room itself, "I'm right behind you." Would you like a part 2 or a continuation of the story? Play with me. When Jenna inherited her grandmother's old Victorian house, she didn't expect to find much, just dust, faded photographs, and maybe a few antiques worth something. But in the attic, tucked beneath a moth-eaten blanket inside a cedar chest, she found a doll. It was old, porcelain, cracked face, matted curls, a red ribbon tied neatly around its throat. Jenna chuckled despite herself. It was one of those creepy Victorian dolls you'd expect in a bad horror movie. In its stiff little hand was a note, scrawled in looping, faded cursive. "Play with me or I'll be lonely." "Wow," she muttered. "Not creepy at all." She tossed the doll back into the chest, shut the lid, and went back downstairs. That night, Jenna dreamed of laughter, high-pitched and echoing, like a child playing alone in a cavern. She woke up to a soft thump, and there, at the foot of her bed, sat the doll. She stared at it for a long time, trying to convince herself she must have brought it down and forgotten. Or maybe she sleepwalked, but her skin crawled, trying to shake the feeling. She picked up the doll and tossed it in the trash outside. The next morning, it was sitting on the kitchen counter. Same cracked smile, same red ribbon, same note in her handwriting. "Play with me or I'll be lonely." She burned it this time, watched it blacken and curl to ash in the fire pit. That night, she heard scratching, not on the walls, inside them. The next few days were a blur, lights flickering, doors opening, whispered giggling echoing through the house. Then she began waking up with bruises, tiny fingerprints around her ankles, scratches on her arms. On the 6th day, she woke to find the doll cradled in her arms like a child, and a new note pinned to her nightgown. "You're not playing fair." Jenna fled the house. She drove 3 towns over and found a church thrift shop. Left the doll, wrapped, bound, sealed in a box, with a sticky note. "Do not open." She never went back. 2 months later, a little girl named Clara found the doll in the thrift shop. Her mother almost didn't let her have it. There was something off about it. But Clara looked so happy. They brought it home. That night, Clara found a note clutched in the doll's porcelain hand. "Play with me or I'll be lonely." Would you like a sequel or a version told from the little girl's point of view?